we should be on board any minute. Rich, can you hear me? Just a thumbs up is fine. Great. Bob?
Can you hear me?
I heard the second person a lot clearer.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to, mute myself and maybe we can figure out which mic is working best. Now that I am muted. Okay, well, I don't think I can mute myself on the mic. So I muted myself on the computer. That mic should not be on. Are all the mics on?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I think you have to push the little gizmo to
Do you
make
have to
the
press
mic
it for it to?
push to have it live.
I think we're live on the mic.
Oh, it's pointing on. Oh, that's that one. It's the webcam right up there.
Bye. Can you mute yourself? We're just trying to figure out where the audio feed is coming from because I'm muted on my computer.
I think it's somewhere. Oh, it's probably that. That is the webcam that I think the Zoom is running from, and so the microphone is there, and it's pointing right there.
Okay.
So I guess the option is either to see us or hear us,
Okay.
but not both.
Can we check and see whether or not Bob and Rich can speak during the meeting because maybe they could unmute themselves?
Yeah, Bob, do you want to give us a test 1, 2, 3? You're muted, so I definitely can't hear you if you're muted.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Bravo.
All right, excellent. I think we're in business as far as Zoom folks go. So there is no chat in the Zoom, so folks will just need to use the raise hand feature. That's how we'll manage comments. Does that sound good?
That sounds fine, but Megan, you're gonna have to stand there.
No, I'm gonna relocate all my stuff here so that, and I would suggest maybe you guys coming over here too, because the microphone is right there, so it'll only really pick us up from this close.
I don't think that's possible if we're on.
We're also live streaming. This microphone should work. I think the live stream is an entirely different device and setup.
Okay, so you're saying that the Zoom audio will not pick us up unless we're close to that computer over there,
Correct.
and then the live stream will be
Will pick us up from anywhere in the room.
okay because of the mics.
Yep.
I can hear you fine, Rachel, from where you're at.
Oh. Can everybody hear her fine? I don't think you could hear me from all the way over there.
Is your mic on over there?
The line is green. I'm just gonna move over there.
Folks, we're getting very close. I apologize for this snafu.
All right. I think I now have all the things to run all the things.
Are you going to keep sitting there?
I'll go ahead and sit here and everybody can hear, okay? Because I can, just so you can see everybody over there. I'm not sure the camera. I guess it includes. The camera for the video feed.
For the
does
live
not-
stream will be from these two.
Okay, so it looks as if we're in an empty room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move down to where, because the camera does not appear, it appears to be stationary. It's not moving.
Well, that's just the Zoom camera.
Oh, okay.
The YouTube live stream is that camera and that camera.
Okay. Well, I'm going to, because it appears that it's only pointing at those 4 chairs and that half of the room.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to move on that side just so
it's visible that there's somebody here. Otherwise, it's just filming half of an empty room, so, or the empty half of the room, which is unusual. So I'm just going to scooch that way, and then we'll go ahead and get started because I think we're ready to go. I wonder if there's someone in the back with the camera.
We just have to give her the thumbs up sign, and she said she would, Oh,
What are you guys trying to do?
we are trying to get people to see us and hear us on the Zoom as well as the live stream.
Okay,
And the
yeah,
Zoom,
so, you would just, because it's pointing over here, right? Yeah, so if you just sat over there, any of these mics will catch you guys.
so the mics are connected to the Zoom.
No, it's connected to the live stream.
What is connected to the Zoom?
That,
Just that device there?
it's the webcam.
Okay, so they may, okay, we'll test out, do you want to test out your audio over there, Rachel?
Just to let you guys know, it is live right now.
It is live now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And do we need to press a button for this to
What is
pick-
that? Oh,
It's
no,
a-
if you press the button, it's muting.
muting
So all
it?
these are on
Okay.
right now.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. The camera for everybody, the microphone for everybody on Zoom is only right there. The microphone for everybody who you're trying to talk to is right there. This won't reach them. That's why I think we should stay over here like a empty room.
Welcome everyone who's watching live and on Zoom, and welcome everyone in the public. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, if the folks who are here could say their names so we can do a roll call. All right, and I assure you those people are here, just cannot see them. And I'm Rachel Fetty Anderson, and I'm going to go ahead and chair the meeting. Our chair is Richard Burks. Maybe if we could close the doors. Our chair is Richard Burks, but he is unfortunately recovering from a small surgery, so he is at home today, so I'm going to go ahead and chair the meeting. Welcome, Richard, and then Bob Cohen is also present on Zoom. Okay, could we go to,
The Zoom board members introduce themselves.
sure. Mr. Burks, would you like to introduce yourself first, please? You'll need to unmute yourself. Thank you, and thanks for serving as our chair. Mr. Cohen.
Yeah, Cohen, also second year. We need to have somebody to take notes for the meeting. I don't think I'm gonna be able to hear with enough clarity to do it. Catherine has been doing it this summer, but she's not here today. So maybe somebody who is present in the room could do that.
I don't think I can run the Zoom
I
and
can-
take notes.
I can do it.
All right, Dottie has volunteered.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so our first,
Oh, do we also want to let Brian?
oh, yes, of course. Hi, Brian.
Hi. Brian Church.
All right, welcome, Brian. Okay, so I'd like to go ahead and take a look at the meeting minutes. These were all distributed earlier, and they are published on the city's website.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Second, are there any objections to approving the minutes? All right, seeing and hearing none, the minutes are approved. And next, we'll go to committee reports. I think we had some discussion earlier about from the folks who are on the Statistics and Reporting Committee, and they had indicated that they had not been successful in setting their meeting with the individual who manages the records at the department, and there was going to be an effort to get in touch with Chief Powell to see if that meeting could be set up. Do we have a report on whether or not that was able to be done?
I fired off an email to the chief today, right before our meeting. This will be the second one, so I'm going to have to try to follow that up with a phone call, because I think he's pretty busy. Maybe he's not looking at his emails all the time or whatever, but I think maybe the press that a little bit more.
Okay. All right. And then do we have a report from community outreach?
I'm running most of those meetings, and so far we've visited 2 neighborhood meetings. We visited the First Ward neighborhood meeting. Was that in June?
Sounds,
I believe
yes.
so.
Yeah, I think that was in June. And then we visited the South Park Association of Neighbors, or SPAN, in July. And those were really helpful meetings. They really appreciated us being there. We were able to pass out literature for the board in general, and invite people to consider helping fill the vacancies. And we also spread the word about the focus groups that we're doing. So we are still in progress with the other neighborhood associations, Jerome Park, Suncrest, other ones that, Greenmont, we just missed their meeting agenda last time. So some of these only meet once a quarter. Some of them only meet twice a year. So I think we'll just continue to stay in close contact with whoever the main contact is for those neighborhood meetings, and try and get on their agenda for their next upcoming meeting.
I have a meeting scheduled with the Suncrest group at the end of the month.
Oh, great.
They
Excellent.
were supposed, I thought they told me it was the end of last month, and then no one got back to me, and then whoever is running them finally did. And
Great.
Dottie, could you pull the mic a little bit closer to your, there you go, thank you. Okay, great, thank you. Ms. Gandy, would you give us a little bit more information so that folks who may be watching can understand a little bit more about the focus groups that are going on?
Sure.
And if there's a way that they can get in touch with you if they have concerns. I know I was on the SPAN Facebook site earlier this week, and some concerns were raised, and so I provided your email address. And I've tried to make sure that we've invited all of the neighborhoods through their Facebook groups. But if you could address that, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Do you want me to do that now? Or
Sure.
Are we moving on to agenda, old business, progress on focus groups?
I don't think we can invite people to these focus groups enough. So go ahead and give your contact information now, just in case people can't make it through the rest of the meeting.
Right. Well, my contact information, you can find it on the WVU School of Social Work website. My email is the best way to get in touch with me. It's Megan, MEGAN, .Gandy, GANDY, @mail.wvu.edu. And just as a update progress report on the focus groups, we've been able to run 3 groups so far. And those were groups that were with some specific stakeholders that had a particular stake in the safety and policing situations, focused mostly on downtown, but not exclusively. And so now we're moving into more broad focus groups. We've got 3 focus groups coming up that the general public is welcome to attend. And so those are on Wednesday, August 14th, 3:30 to 5. The second one is Saturday, August 24th, 9:30 to 11 in the morning. And the third one is Tuesday, August 27th, 5:30 to 7 p.m. And so the groups will be held at the Morgantown Public Library. We are trying to limit the size of the group just because it becomes difficult to hear everybody and have everybody get a chance to speak if we have too many people. So I really need people to RSVP to me so that I can get a head count and ask folks to go to certain meetings if they have the availability. And we are doing one Zoom meeting for folks that have difficulty getting there in person. That one's going to be September 3rd at 5 o'clock p.m., 5 to 6:30. And so, yeah, I think, and so in addition to the focus groups, we've also been collecting data from individuals. We really wanted to stay in the focus group format because that's a way to get richer data in terms of the complexities of the situation that we're studying. But the individual interviews, I think, are also important to get some perspectives of people that can't make it to these groups. And so we've been doing that with Morgantown Police Department. We've been doing that with people that can't make it to the focus groups. And so we've had some interviews with people that go to the Red Door for their mealtime. We've also gone to other social service agencies around town to invite those folks to join the focus groups. So yeah, we're also spreading the word on Facebook as far as what we ran a newspaper ad for 7 days. We are running an ad in the e-news for WVU folks. And we also are reaching out to local churches to ask them to invite their congregants. So we're trying to get as diverse of a sample as possible. And I think it's important for people to remember that this is phase 1 of the research. So this is kind of a starting point. This will inform the survey. So qualitative methods are designed to give us quality data and be rich, but they are not going to be a quantity of data. And so the quantity of data comes from the survey that we're going to be mailing to people later on in the year or whenever we get funding. And so that relates to the next item, proposal for funding. In order to do the mailer, we need to get funding from City Council. I have submitted the request for a special budget consideration, and that's currently sitting at the city manager's desk. And so I've been told that the city manager needs to, or in order for it to get funding before the normal budgetary process, the city manager would need to find that money from another budget. And so I don't know what all is involved in that or what time frame that could be achieved in. But if that is not something that we get to before December, then we'll just enter a budgetary request under the normal budgetary cycle, which you submit in December and then they discuss and implement in March. So the funds would be available to us starting the next fiscal year, which would be July 2025. So just in terms of timing, that's what we're looking at for the quantitative survey. And then once we run that, we will run another series of focus groups to hear from similar people that we'll invite everybody who attended the first focus group, so we'll also open it up to more people to present the data and help us make sense of it. This is all a very democratic and community engaged process. So it's important that the community members are involved. This is about the community, and we really want the community to have input because they're the primary source of data in all of this. Yeah, I think that's about it. Unless there's any other questions, I'm happy to field those. Get any other input from people on the progress or any considerations that we should have considered but haven't yet.
Well, from my perspective, that was very comprehensive. I wonder if Brian or Rich or Bob have any additional comments. If y'all have any comments, just unmute yourselves and go ahead and speak up. Hopefully that will work. Hi, Rich.
I have no comments.
Bob? Brian?
No comments.
Okay, thank you so much. Alrighty, then we'll go ahead and look at 4B, procedures for citizen complaints to the Morgantown Police Department. This item has been tabled a couple of times. I know, Rich, you were out. Did you want to make any comments about the progress that's been made in that area?
Really, there hasn't been much movement on this since the last meeting, and the only thing that we know about is the fact that there is a complaint form on the site that we can actually get to. But I still, in my opinion, there's still some question about logistics. How somebody is actually going to submit this form without going to the police department. So it's, and to me, I think the procedure, we need to take a closer look at the procedure, because there's also a couple gray areas on it, in which one that I can really think about is the fact that the first step is to have someone at the office, when you submit the form, address the situation right then and there. If they satisfy that individual, then that's the end of it. Whereas I believe that the process states that every complaint would be investigated, and I don't know if that would be defined as an investigation. So I think there's some clarification that needs to be done, even with the current process.
Well, are we interested in forming a work group, or a work group to sort of start talking about ways that we could get together, before the meetings? It would have to be less than a quorum of the group to sort of come up with some proposals, or to consider that policy as a whole. Would any folks like to volunteer for such a work group? I would volunteer.
I would volunteer also. I think we already have a work group, don't we?
We do have a work group but I don't think we have anyone working specifically on this issue.
Yeah.
We have several work groups, but since this action item is having a little bit of trouble sort of getting off the ground and moving along, I think sometimes it can help to have additional input, just to make sure that we do start working on resolving any concerns that we have or that have been brought to our attention.
Yeah, I'll volunteer also, Rachel.
Okay. Brian, did you have any comments that you'd like to make?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's go on to 4C and the membership issues that we're having. We're just a few folks short. I know that I spoke to council members about the need for additional members. I'm not sure if they've received any additional inquiries. If you are interested in the subject of policing in Morgantown, we would love to have you apply. There are some unique categories that folks have to fall into to be eligible, but we also have an at-large position, and we would love to hear from folks with any interest at all. It'd be great if you're involved in the community in some way, however you are involved in the community. It'd be great if you bring community experience with you, but if you don't, and this is your first effort to get involved in community issues, we would still love to have you apply and love to see you. Does anyone else have anything that they'd like to mention about membership?
I do think that folks that I have asked to apply have told me that they've applied and have not gotten past city council approval. And so I think it would be helpful to get some more clarity from city council on who they are looking for to fill these last two vacancies. Because I haven't gotten a real clear answer. I think during my most recent appointment interview to be reappointed to the board, they asked me who I would consider to be an important voice that isn't currently represented on the board, and so I gave them that input. And so I don't know what they've done with that input. That was in June. So I don't know if that means people should reapply if they've already applied once, or if just being not being, I don't know if they were rejected. I don't think that's the right language, but if they weren't selected, is it a matter of that's the final word, or should they apply again? I don't know.
I think it'd be a good idea if we find out if they have any current applicants that haven't been interviewed, and also when was the last time they received an application?
In my interview, I brought this up too, and I'm trying to. They gave the impression that they thought that they wouldn't fit into the group. I don't know what that means. I had mentioned one of the advantages early in the interview. I had mentioned one of the advantages that I saw was that we worked well together, and they sort of turned that around on me and said, well, they didn't think that these people would work well together. So I don't know what that means. And
Well, I think they're feeding us each a different line with the hope that we just haul in more people so that they have a broader pool to select from. I will do that. I will reach out to some members of City Council and see if we can get a better sense of who they're looking for. I do encourage everyone to apply. I know that there was, during my interview, there was a question about whether we had any average Joes, and I think that was referring to folks who are not in academia, and I think that is one sort of unfortunate tilt in our group, is that we do have a lot of people who are in academia or who have advanced degrees, and frankly, you don't need that to sit in this group or to have an informed opinion. So I hope that folks who fall into that category of people who work here, who live here, who want to try to work on some of these issues, who I hope they won't feel like they're being excluded because they're overqualified or because they are not, because they're underqualified. We just need folks who care and are interested and want to participate, and I think we do need a broader group of people, so that's why the membership is supposed to be so large. So we really want community representation. So maybe that's what they're looking for, which means that, folks on this board have to work a little bit harder, I think. So we'll have to do that, but of course out in the public, we'd love to see you. We'd love to see you come and attend, or just watch a meeting. Hopefully, all of our technical issues have been ironed out. This was our first meeting that was held in council chambers. Some of us have resisted that because the library was so convenient and so cozy. And we'll probably be revisiting whether or not we're going to stay in council chambers depending on how things iron out. But we're going to give it a few months and see if we can get the kinks out, and hopefully it'll be a warm, welcoming place. I have to say, everyone who's on this board is really wonderful and works hard to try to address their concerns, and we don't have a slacker among us. Okay, so number 5, new business, 5A, regarding the council proposal to criminalize outdoor sleeping. There's been a question as to whether or not we want to adopt or write a statement about that issue. Would folks like to work together on a work group to discuss that issue and what's being proposed, and discuss whether or not there should be a statement?
I think.
I would like to make a motion. I would like to move that, that we do put a work group together to, take a look at this issue.
Okay. Do we have any volunteers for that work group?
I believe that Catherine wouldn't mind me volunteering her
Okay.
in her absence.
I volunteer.
I'm sorry,
Brian?
who's that?
Brian.
That's Brian.
I'll volunteer.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. That's a very efficient way to handle any problem.
Who was the last volunteer? Sorry.
Bob. And I do think stressing the importance of quick turnaround is going to be key in this statement because of the nature of the readings and how quickly that could go through city council. So, you know, I think obviously whatever statement the work group drafts would come up for a vote during our next meeting, and that at that point we could vote to approve it and also have it read at the next city council meeting. I just don't want to see it delay past our next meeting, just because this is a very timely issue, and if we wait until October, it may be too late. So
I appreciate that. Thank you for that reminder. All right, so everyone on that work group has to get it together by our next meeting, which will be, of course, held on the second Thursday of the month. Any other comments or questions about this issue? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone with their hand raised. Let's take a look at 5B, participation in Arts Walk, August 10th. Who was there?
yeah, so this came out of my visit to the South Park Neighborhood Association, Main Street, Morgantown. One of their representatives was there and invited me to do a table at the event because they do often have nonprofits tabling at the Arts Walk. And so, of course, I graciously agreed. And so it's just a matter of working out the logistics now. I think it'll be important to have another board member or two that could stop by for a small period of time. I don't mind running the logistics in terms of setting up a tent and making the table look nice and friendly. I just think I'd like to get a commitment from some board members to stop by on that Saturday if they have time.
Where was this taking place, downtown or?
Yep, downtown High Street. And the goal of this would be to spread community awareness about the board. I did get some more of our brochures printed, our trifold brochures. And then, of course, also to spread the word and the invitation for the focus groups. So we'll have those two pieces of information at the table. We'll also have a fun art activity at the table to be able to blend in with the theme of the event, which is art. So I think it'll be fun, and looks like it's going to be pretty good weather on Saturday. So
That sounds great. When are you setting up the table?
I don't know yet. The Main Street Morgantown rep said that everybody really covets the courtyard square, and so he couldn't guarantee that we would be there, but I think otherwise tents are set up all up and down High Street. And I do believe they block that section off to be pedestrian only during the arts walk, maybe? I don't know, actually, now that I said that, I'm not sure. But people can just email me, text me, what have you, to get information on where we end up being placed.
Okay, that sounds great. And I can be there in the morning for a couple of hours, so
Awesome.
thank you.
Yeah,
I'm going to be out
Thank
of
you,
town.
Yeah.
So,
out of town. I know a couple of folks are out of town. It's pretty quick notice. So I know folks have other things on their schedules. The event itself runs from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Okay, sounds good. All right, thank you so much for doing that. Okay, next we have an opportunity for public comment.
Rachel, could we go back to item 5A?
Sure.
Because I'm not sure about issuing a public statement from the board. What I do think is that the board could play a very positive role here in doing research on whether there really is an increase in crime attributable to people who are homeless. I know that the police chief made a statement at the July 2nd city council meeting indicating that there's not been any appreciable increase in crime levels, but we might be able to, and we have authority to do this, to look into records and make findings and report it to the public. And I think it would be, it would take some work. We'd have to delve into those records. But I think that would be a useful thing we might want to consider.
Could I suggest that we leave that issue to the work group, and that the work group flesh out the concerns about possibly issuing a public statement, any research that they may want to provide to anyone, and the possibility of drafting a statement, that they flesh out those ideas in the work group, because we will not have another meeting, I don't believe, in time to be able to outside of that possibility. Could I just suggest that you and Brian
Sure, that's fine,
can
Rachel.
work on that? And then you can, of course, make reports to the board prior to our next meeting, and you can, if you don't agree about whether or not to make a comment, you can certainly advise the board of that. If you have information that you'd like to provide in a different manner, then you can also advise the board of that as well, just so in the process of keeping us up to date on your progress as a work group. I do think that Megan's point is important to keep in mind. We do have a very short period of time, but I think it would be helpful to for a few of us who are really focused on issues that are similar to these, to come up with something so that the board can address it one way or the other at our next meeting, with some advance notice and the ability to look over what suggestions you may have or what resolutions you may have come to in the group. Does that sound okay? We did have, and I just want to apologize because we did have a motion. Rich proposed a motion that we create a work group to address this issue, And then I believe we needed a second to create the work group.
I was gonna second it, so I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to create a work group to address the issue of the proposal to criminalize outdoor sleeping. It has been seconded by Ms. Gandy. Does anyone oppose that motion? All right, no one opposes the motion, so we'll go ahead and go forward with creating that work group. And hopefully folks who are on the work group, which would be Catherine, Brian, and Bob, you'll all have a chance to get together and let us know what your suggestions are after your meeting, even if you disagree and there are no suggestions. And let us know before our next meeting so that we can make sure that we include it in the agenda. And we'll make sure that we include addressing this issue and hearing a work group report at our next meeting, and that it's included in the agenda. All right. Do we have anyone in the public who'd like to make a comment? Is there a way for folks to raise their hands or unmute themselves?
I would just say if you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature, or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself if you'd like to speak.
All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised. Go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and make a little comment about an interaction that I had with the police department yesterday. So in other parts of my life, I get called to do extremely random activities. And yesterday I was called by a woman who was driving her U-Haul to Indiana, and she was stranded by anxiety about driving the U-Haul. And she, and I believe that she's probably originally from another country, so there was some communication challenges. I could not, for the life of me, over the phone, figure out exactly what was going on. So I drove out and I met her at the Sheets, and there were two officers from the MPD who were there, and they were very graciously and very kindly trying to help her work through her anxiety because she was stuck outside the retail circle, Walmart. And I appreciated them so much. They plotted a path for her to drive that was relatively, it was somewhat less mountainous. I took their suggestions, and I wanted to let them know, and I apologize that I did not write down their names. I was a little bit verklempt while I was trying to figure out what was going on. But they were very kind and very patient and very sweet with her because she was really struggling, and she had a couple of kids in the U-Haul. But I ended up driving with her, either in front of her or behind her, to Wheeling. So I got her to Wheeling, and then I sent her on her way, and I got a message this morning saying that she had arrived safely. So I wanted to thank those officers because I relied on their mapping ability and their knowledge of the roads, and I know she did, and it was really appreciated. And that's all I have for this afternoon. Does anyone else have any comments, questions, concerns?
Just a little housekeeping thing. Everybody, we need to get new parking passes for this year. I did submit my form probably about 3 months ago. I never got anything back, so I have to check on that. I think we got to do this.
All right, so we'll have to touch base with,
I'm sorry,
Donnie. So what he mentioned was that we'll all need to get our parking passes situated, and we should talk to Christina about it. And there's a form to fill out, so we have to get cracking.
I did get mine, I think, when I got sworn in.
Yeah,
So
but
we'll-
during my
we'll-
reappointment,
Yeah.
swearing in, they had a packet ready for me with, a new parking pass that lasts for my whole appointment. But I do know that they were rewriting the parking passes, so maybe, like for folks that didn't go through the reappointment cycle this year, just contacting, Christine or Heather and asking them, how you can get the parking pass from them.
All right, sounds good. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Okay, so Richard is moving that we adjourn, Dottie is seconding, and thank you all very much. We're adjourned. Have a great afternoon and a good month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.